Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? I hope that all of you are always in a good conditions and be happy today. So, welcome to our class today. We have a class in discourse analysis, and today we are going to discuss about the cooperative principle and implicature and also politeness. Well, let's come to the first topic about the cooperative principle. The cooperative principle is a theory proposed by philosopher H.P. Grace to explain how people communicate effectively in conversations. It suggests that people usually cooperate with each other to ensure that communications is smooth and meaningful. So, as definitions, Grace stated that mature conversational contributions such as is required at the state at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or directions of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. In a simple terms, that means that speakers and listener work together to communicate effectively. People follow certain rules to make conversations clear, truthful, relevant, and informative. There are four maxims, four maxims or rule of the cooperative principle. The first is maxim of quantity. Here, we need to be as informative as needed. So give enough informations, but not too much or too little. And for example, when someone asks about the position of ATM, where is the nearest ATM? And we need only to answer with a switchable answer. It's to block ahead on your right. So we answer with enough informations, but not too much or too little. And the next one is maxim of quality. So here need to be truthful. Do not say things that are false or for which you lack evidence. Say for example, when A give a questions, did Sarah pass the exam? And B probably can only answer with yes, she got an A. So we do not need to say the things that false or maybe lack from evidence. And the third one is maxim of relations. So here, this is about relevant. So we need to be relevant. Say things that are related to the topic of conversations. If A maybe have a questions, what time does the meeting start? And B only can give a switchable answer with say at 3 p.m. And that is enough. That is an enough answer. We need to say something that related to the topic of the conversation. We need to give the suitable answer. And the fourth is maxim of manner. Here we need to be clear and orderly. So we need to avoid confusion, ambiguity, or unnecessary complexity. Say for example, when A give a question, how do I get to the train stations? And probably B can answer, walk straight for 2 blocks, then turn right. Yes, and for more explanations, I think we need to see the video.
Hi everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'll be discussing the cooperative principle, which involves 4 maxims of conversation. They are the maxims of quantity, quality, relation, and manner. Let's get started. The cooperative principle was developed by philosopher H.P. Grace as a way to account for how speakers work together in conversations to achieve their communicative goals. Although these maxims are worded as prescriptive rules, they are intended as descriptive observations about how people cooperate in everyday conversations. We tend not to notice the cooperative principle unless one or more of these maxims has been violated or flouted, and we'll talk about the difference between violating and flouting a maxim shortly. Let's take a look at each of these maxims. First is the maxim of quantity, which states that in conversations, speakers make their contributions as informative as required. When this maxim is violated, speakers can provide too much information. Hey man, how you doing? I'm good, how are you? Well, this morning I woke up and I just didn't feel so well. I think it's because last night I decided to have a Hot Pocket around midnight, and it was the ham and cheese variety, which I don't even like because I prefer the chicken and broccoli kind, and I didn't have those. I was hungry, so I said, whatever, I'm gonna eat it.
2 hours later.
But then I threw up for like an hour and I felt much better. However, speakers can violate this maxim by providing too little information. So, you're interested in doing your dissertation on linguistic relativity, is that right? Yep. Well, as you may know, this is a pretty broad topic, so what do you want to focus on? Stuff. Next is the maxim of quality, which states that speakers provide truthful contributions to the conversation. Of course, speakers do lie, but they don't lie all the time, nor do their conversational partners expect them to lie. This maxim is unique because it best illustrates how a maxim can either be violated or flouted. So what's the difference between violating and flouting a maxim, you might ask? Well, violating a maxim is when the speaker is being deliberately uncooperative, say for the purpose of deception. Hey Evan, I still haven't received that research paper from you. Did you finish it? Did you turn it in? Oh, yeah, totally, but, well, what? Well, my dog ate it. Whereas flouting a maxim occurs when a speaker only appears to be uncooperative, but in fact creates an implicature, or a meaning that can only be inferred by the addressee. Sarcasm is a good example of flouting the maxim of quality. Hey, how's that linguistics class you're taking this semester? Oh, it's great. It's my favorite class ever. Next is the maxim of relation, which states that speakers provide relevant contributions to the conversation. How's your semester going? Not bad. I'm taking this linguistics class, and it's pretty cool. Oh, I took linguistics too. Who's your teacher?
My cat's breath smells like cat food.
Last is the maxim of manner. Now this has nothing to do with manners or politeness, strictly speaking, but states that speakers' contributions to a conversation should be clear, unambiguous, and should avoid obscure language. Hey, Mr. Ashworth, when did humans first develop technology? Well, the most significant development of early hominids was their engagement in lithic acquisitional events. It's important to note that the cooperative principle is not language universal. These maxims do not apply to every culture in the same way because each culture carries different expectations for how speakers should behave in different contexts. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Now, let's come to the implicature. So, implicature actually happens when a speaker implies something without stating it directly. The listener must infer the meaning based on the context and background of the knowledge. Here are some types of implicature. The first is conversational implicatures, meaning is implied through the way a person speaks in a conversations. And the second one is conversational implicator, meaning is implied based on the meaning of certain words or phrases. Yeah. Let's discuss about conversational implicator. So conversational implicators, this occurs when a speaker floats or deliberately breaks one of these maxims, but the listener can still understand the intended meaning. Say, for example, conversational of implicator, yeah, when A says, "Where is John?" and B is going to answer, "Well, there is a red car in front of Sarah's house." The implicator here is John might be at Sarah's house at the time. And
this video is going to feature this wicked pragmatics thingy that people call implicature. Off we go. And as usual, we should start out with defining what we want to talk about. An implicature is an utterance which conveys meaning beyond its proposition. And there we have yet another word we have no clue about. A proposition refers to the semantic content of a sentence. Anyway, whenever we use an implicature, it's like we can draw a conclusion from what is said and therefore deduce more meaning than is actually encoded. Pretty neat, isn't it? Now, Paul Grice, the father, or should I say grandfather of pragmatics, subdivides implicature into two types, conversational and conventional. Conversational implicatures are special in that they employ the cooperative principle and the maxims of conversation. If you don't know what that is, there's a green button below. So logically, if conversational implicatures have to do with the cooperative principle, conventional implicatures do not. They actually try to make a point about a contrast, and very often you can be tipped off by words like but or yet. However, many people wouldn't go for a classification into conventional implicatures simply because, if we're honest, you can find maxims of conversation everywhere. Which is why I'm going to leave out these rudimental implicatures further on. On the next level we can subdivide as well. Specifically, conversational implicature can be subdivided into three types. The first one is the generalized conversational implicature. Generalized means it doesn't depend that much on the context. Even by definite articles or tenses, you can implicate certain things, like in the following sentence. The arsonist put a house on fire. If you don't know what an arsonist is, pause the video and look that up now. Done? Okay. So, this sentence features a generalized implicature simply by using the article a. The implication behind it is simply that it is not his own house the arsonist is burning down. It could be any house really, but not his. The next type is the particular conversational implicature, which this time strongly depends on the context to implicate correctly. Look at this dialogue. Do you want to go to the cinema tonight? My little sister's coming for a visit. On the surface, B's reply doesn't seem to be a relevant answer to A's question, which is why B just violated a maxim. However, what B wanted to implicate is that she wouldn't have time to go to the cinema because she's busy with performing shaman rituals with her sister, or so. So to use and point out the implicature, B flouts the maxim of relevance. Now why is this an example for a particular implicature? Well, simply because we wouldn't have a clue what B's utterance is about if we didn't have A's question. The last type is called scalar implicature. Whenever we use a word that expresses a degree, you automatically implicate that the thing you're talking about isn't of any higher degree. So here you have a scale going from none to all. And now have a look at the sentence. I had some buttered scones for tea. The word some is in the middle of our scale, meaning that you just had some, but not all buttered scones, because they're really high in fat and you really wouldn't want to eat them all.
Well, everybody, now let's come to the next topic. So we are going to discuss about politeness. Yeah, politeness in discourse analysis refers to the ways people use language to show respect, maintain social harmony, and avoid conflict in communications. So it helps speakers manage relationship and save pace, like maintain dignity and self-image in conversations. So about politeness theory, it is mentioned by Brown and Levinson in 1987. Brown and Levinson's politeness theory is one of the most well-known frameworks. It's based on the concept of phase, which has two types. The first is positive phase. It means desire, like the desire to be liked, appreciated, or included. And the second one is negative phase. It's just the desire to be independent and not impose upon. Different politeness strategies help protect either positive or negative phase in communications. And here is the politeness strategies and examples. The first is positive politeness. It's making the listener feel valued. So used to maintain friendliness and show solidarity. Say, for example, you are really good at this, so could you help me with my work? Or, hey buddy, let's work on this together. And the second one is negative politeness. It respects the listener's freedom. It used to avoid imposing on the others. Like the example, would you mind helping me with this? I'm so sorry to bother you, but could you explain me about this part again? So it more polite. It sounds better than we say it without politeness. And the third one is off-record politeness, indirect and hinting speech. It is used to avoid directly asking for something, like, whoa, I'm so thirsty. Yeah, hoping someone will offer a drink instead of asking directly. Or maybe like the sentence, it's really cold in here, hitting that someone should close the window. But they don't want to say, close the window, please. Yeah, or give me a glass of the water, please. But say it smoothly, say it softly, but somebody that hear it can understand what actually she or he needs. And the next is ball on record. This is about direct speech. No politeness strategies used. It is used when politeness is not necessary. Yeah, say for example, maybe in an emergency or authority situations. Say for example, give me the file now. Close the door. So in emergency situations, it can be used. Yeah. And for the next explanations, let's see the videos below.
Today's discussion is about politeness. In this video we are going to have a short introduction of what politeness in pragmatics is. In pragmatics, when we talk about politeness, we do not refer to the social rules of behavior. We refer to the choices that are made in language use and the linguistic expressions that give people space and show a friendly attitude to them. Now, take a look at the following examples.
Excuse me, Mr. Buckingham, but can I talk to you for a minute? Hey Bucky, got a minute?
The utterance from the woman shows awareness for another person's face. In this case, it is often described in terms of respect or deference. While for this example, the utterance shows equivalent awareness when the other is socially close, and it is often described in terms of friendliness, camaraderie, or solidarity. Brown and Levinson have concluded that in order to enter into social relationships, all people must acknowledge the face of other people. As a technical term, face means the public self-image of a person. It refers to that emotional and social sense of self that everyone has, and expects everyone else to recognize. If a speaker says something that represents a threat to another individual's expectations regarding self-image, it is described as a face-threatening act, or FTA. If some actions might be interpreted as a threat to another's face, the speaker can say something to lessen the possible threat. This is called face-saving act, or FSA. Now, let's see the difference. The situation is like young neighbors playing loud music late at night. Older couple cannot sleep. The first utterance says, I'm going to tell him to stop that awful noise right now. In this case, the person does the FTA. The second utterance says, perhaps you could just ask him if he's going to stop soon because it's getting a bit late and people need to get to sleep. Here, the person makes an FSA. There are two kinds of face. First, is the positive face. A person's positive face is the need to be accepted, even liked, by others, to be treated as a member of the same group, and to know that his or her wants are shared by others. The second is negative face. A person's negative face is the need to be independent, to have freedom of action, and not to be imposed on by others. So, a face-saving act which is concerned with the person's positive face will tend to show solidarity, emphasize that both speakers want the same thing, and that they have a common goal. This is also called positive politeness. A face-saving act which is oriented to the person's negative face will tend to show deference, emphasize the importance of the other's time or concerns, and even include an apology for the imposition or interruption. This is also called negative politeness. So that's the first discussion about the introduction of politeness theory.
Well, everybody, so now from the material that we have discussed together, we have listened from this video about the cooperative principle, implicators, and also politeness. So we can have conclusions here that the cooperative principle, implicator, and politeness are key concepts in discourse analysis that explain how people communicate effectively and maintain social harmony. So the cooperative principle, it is mentioned by Chris in 1975. It suggests that people follow conversational maxims. There are 4 maxims: quantity, quality, relations, and also manner, to ensure clear and meaningful communications. And then it's about implicator. Actually, it occurs when meaning is implied rather than explicitly stated, often by floating conversational maxims. So this helps speakers communicate indirectly while still being understood. And the last one is about politeness. And we know that politeness theory is mentioned by Brown and Levinson in 1987. It explains that how people use language to show respect, avoid conflict, and maintain social relationships through strategies like positive politeness, negative politeness, off-record politeness, and also bold-on-record speech. So I think that's all for these presentations. See you next time. And finally, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.